Alright, so welcome to the Haram Prison Heist Prison Guide. And today I'm going to be showing off what you need to do with different methods, items, and skills that you need to complete it as fast as possible. So I'm going to start off with my loadout and skills. So I have 3 shotguns here. These shotguns, specifically the engraved semi-automatic shotgun, do the most damage in the game. So ideally you want to be using them to take out the enemies in some segments in the run here. The reason why I use 3 is because the reload animation for them takes quite a while. And as soon as you only have 8 bullets in each in the chamber, so you want to utilize as many bullets as you can without having to reload. That's why I have 3. So for why I have the Quai Dagger here is because the Quai Dagger has the ability to charge up and give you extra speed based on how many charges it has, so you can stack up to 10 times. So if I do any parkour move like this, you see at the top left next to my health, there's a little shoe icon with a number next to it. Every single parkour move I do, like climbing, adds that number up. So what I do, since sliding counts as a parkour move, I slide, and you see it charges up 1 there, so I slide over and over again. I have my crouch key on toggle, so I spam that over and over again to make sure it's always charged up to 10. And you can notice the speed difference here. So I'm going to be running with the speed difference max here, and with the off. You notice the difference that the Quai Dagger provides. So ideally in the run, you always want that charged up to maximum. So for my items, I have a grappling hook. It's pretty obvious why you want one. You can traverse areas without having to move. You can simply grapple to places and climb up places. It's essential on almost any speedrun for Dying Light. The reason why I have the Night Hunter booster here is because it provides speed, resistance, damage boost, and stamina boost. But you don't really need to worry about the damage and stamina boost. You just need to worry about the speed and resistance. So obviously you want more speed from the speed aspect of it, and the resistance booster part of it gives you a lot more resistance, funnily enough, to the weapons that the guys use, since they use a lot of guns. And you will die quite quickly if you're not too careful, especially during the fighting sequences against the humans. If you are low on Night Hunter boosters, you can always just use a combination of the resistance and speed booster. I generally always use Night Hunter boosters because it's much easier just to use 1 item rather than having to drink 2. It saves time as well, rather than having to drink 2 at a time. And the reason why I use a cloak potion is because there are 2 segments in this run where you'll be lockpicking doors, and you'll have enemies surrounding you as you're lockpicking them. But luckily the cloak potion makes you invisible to those enemies, so they won't attack you. As I say that, there is a second room that will have 2 blue volatiles. I call them blue volatiles, and they see through the cloak potion. So you want to be having a flare on the ground in front of you as you're lockpicking the door, since the flares scare away the volatiles and they shouldn't attack you most of the time. So yeah, that's it for the items here. I'm going to go through the skills here. Obviously you want most, if not everything, from the agility tree. You want the grappling hook from the survivor skill tree. Generally speaking, you don't really need these. It's not very important, although more health will always benefit you. As far as legend tree goes, you want maximum firearms because you want to be killing enemies as fast as possible, and with the 250% plus damage for the firearms, it's very, very useful. So you can see these shotguns here do 13k damage. So that's it for the basics of what you need. So I'm going to get into the run itself. So the timer starts as soon as you open the fence here, and you'll see at the top of the screen an in-game timer start. Of course, with Speedrun.com, they're not just counting in-game time, they're also counting real time without loads. So essentially, this time is sort of useless if you start going into pause menus or inventory screens or whatever as you're doing a run. You generally don't want to do that, as it adds more time onto your total run, and it makes this counter invalid. However, the way that I set up my run is that I don't need to go into the my inventory menu at all. So in a way that I won't have to set up an actual RTA timer here. I can just use the timer at the top of the screen that the game provides you. And there's also an accurate in-game timer when the final checkpoint triggers for the time. So let's get right into it. So I'm going to charge up my Kwai Dagger before opening through the gate, as you want to be the maximum speed possible before you start. I'm going to be drinking this for the booster. You see the icons at the top left. You see the icons at the top left. I having the boots from the Kwai Dagger, the speed, and the resistance. You have other two symbols as well, but you don't need to worry about them. So I'm going to start by going up these stairs as fast as possible. And I'm going to be using a combination of the grapple and running with the Kwai Dagger to navigate here as fast as possible. In 13 seconds. So ignore all of these enemies, as you do not need to fight any of them. And you can just crouch under here, go through here. Now this bit coming up is the first section where you actually have to fight enemies. So this is where we'll switch to our shotgun and start killing everything. Now you notice that a viral will spawn here. So this viral counts as part of the enemies in this next room that you need to kill. A lot of people actually ignore them in their first time they run it, including myself, but it's always good to know that you have to kill this viral in order to proceed to the next area, because a lot of areas are locked through triggers, where you can't open the doors until you actually trigger it. In order to initiate the trigger for this bit, you have to kill all the guys in the room. So I kill him, open up this door, and I have a very specific route of how I take out these guys here. One guy will spawn at the top here, another guy in the room over here, and then you'll generally have guys spread out throughout the second and third floors here, as well as a couple on the bottom floor. And I generally move my way across to the center bridge and go up as I take these guys out slowly one by one. If they get close to that canister there, I always blow it up. And you can shoot through the most of the stuff here, so it's what I'm using is I'm pressing Q to activate Survivor Sense, so I can see them through the walls. I can see them, their skeletons, so I can just aim there without having to pay too much attention as to exactly where they are and why I have to aim. And there we go. And see the green light will open, letting you pass through. If that light is still red, make sure you check enemies, as sometimes their spawns are weird and they could spawn behind you, or sometimes you may have forgotten the viral in the beginning. But you'll know if the door is red or not. So I go through this section here, through the hole, over the electric part, and then you go through another hole through the ceiling again. And this is the first part where you have to actually lockpick a door. So this is a double door ahead here, and the Goon will spawn inside. As the Goon spawns, the doors will actually become, they won't have any physics to them, so you can phase right through them rather than having to wait outside. So I'll demonstrate that right now. There you go, it just passed through them. Now this is a gate that you're going to have to lockpick, so I drink a potion, and now I'm safe to lockpick while they don't bother me, at least until the potion expires. Okay, so now I just unlocked it, and now I know where this lockpick sweet spot is about this angle here. The way the prison works is very interesting, is that you can save time lockpicking because of the fact that these lockpick sweet spots don't actually change if you restart the challenge or complete the prison challenge and then go back to the beginning point. If you quit or leave the island, this will reset. But other than that, this will always be the same spot here. So when I go into this for the first time, I always try to do one practice run to learn where these lockpicks are, where they are in relation to where you need to go for the sweet spot. And then once I learn where they are, I can do a second and third run knowing where the sweet spots are. So I'll demonstrate that after I finish this run. But there's the first one done. Open that and pass through. You notice I've always been charging up my dagger as much as possible to keep it at 10. There's a weird grapple there. So I'm going to burst through. So as soon as I walk into this room, I'm out of Cloak Potion, I'm out of Night Hunter boosters, and there's also going to be volatiles in this room, so I'm going to be using all three of my items here, the Cloak Potion, the Night Hunter booster, and the flares. So ideally you want to be drinking the Night Hunter booster first, so you have as much speed as possible, then the cloak potion, and then you can flow flare at the doorway, which I'll show you just now. Oh. Drink this. Apple to here. And now I'm safe, because you see the red arrows on the map there? The volatiles are still hostile towards me, but since I'm in this flare, they actually cannot actively touch me. They can sometimes, the AI is a bit weird, but usually you're most likely protected if you're using a flare. Okay, so I'm going to try and find out where this bit is. Now this is actually more or less the same spot as the previous one, but now I know both the locations of the sweet spots of both of these locks. So I'm obviously using combined use of my grapple. And the reason why I grapple to the roof of this bit here is because if I grapple here, I enter a climbing animation, or you could grab the ledge below, compared to grabbing it like this. And you skip the entire grabbing animation there. So this last bit here is the final arena, which you have to complete. So there's two phases to this. The first phase, which I'm in just now, there'll be a bunch of vials and there's 2 demolishers. So I always focus on taking out the 2 demolishers first by going to the left-hand side and shooting this canister here. So the demolisher will be throwing a rock because you start up there at the top where I just grappled from, and the demolishers will always try to throw a rock at you. And the way that I deal with this is that I always shoot the canister that's located right here. And since he's right next to it, the rock will actually disappear from his hands, but he'll still be in the animation because the rocks are destroyed by any explosives. So you see he's still throwing, but he threw nothing there, so I can just take him out like that, as he's still in animation safely. And now I just go and take out this one as quick as possible, and now I start to focus on the virals. Now, ideally, you don't want to be hit by the virals here, as they make you stumble, and you can't actually shoot while you're stumbling. So I try to stay in the middle of the arena towards this side as much as possible, since this is where a lot of the virals spawn, and they spawn over there and over there as well. Now we're entering the second phase. So the second demolisher is going to be spawning there, while the rest of the virals are going to be spawning on these 4 towers. So I'm going to be focusing the demolisher first. And now I grapple up to this first tower. And now I can freely shoot all these virals. Now the reason why I'm moving from tower to tower on foot is because I want to cover as much ground as possible. Because the way that the virals spawn at the top of these towers is very weird and not always consistent. But what I have seen, at least from my runs, is that the more area you cover, the more spawns you trigger. So it's quite RNG, but you can kind of narrow it down to make them spawn as much as possible by covering as much area as possible. So I'm going to try and reach this 4 towers as much as possible here. There you go. You see only now this one spawned, and you see only now this one's here spawned as well as this one. So it's very difficult. It's very difficult to actually try and get them all to spawn consistently and early, because obviously if they spawn late, it can cost you 5 to 10 seconds. I've had that happen so many times. It's been very frustrating. But that's it. That's the first bit done. Got 326 there, which is alright. But now I'm going to demonstrate you in the next following run. And the following I'm going to do with this is that the lockpicks are going to be in the exact same location. And I'm going to do a quick tutorial on what I do to loot the prison room for a speedrun. Obviously, I used up almost all my shotgun ammo here, and if I leave the island, the lockpicks will reset. So I always try to stay on the island and just replenish all my shotgun ammo, and as well as the fact I'm going to be replacing these Night Hunter boosters, because you can actually find them in these medical cabinets here. So, obviously you can do whatever you want in this room. This isn't really important, but for me, I always try to replenish my Night Hunter boosters and my guns, so I'm able to run this over and over again without having to leave the island, buy some more, then come back. And not only is that a waste of time, but also you're making it a lot harder for yourself because the lockpicks reset. So I'm gonna demonstrate exactly what the lockpicks resetting does. So I'm just going straight into another run here by charging up my dagger. And also just showing you the consistency of this game sometimes with the spawns. So doing the exact same thing as I did before. This is the usual route that I take. I use the grapple to continue to go in a straight line, rather than having to like move left or right of the boxes there. Oh, you don't want to do what I just did. You don't want to run into a wall. Take out this viral, move to the room, and you see that they've spawned in the exact same spot as they did last time. Obviously the way they behave is different. They can move in and out, but generally they all spawn in the same spot. Sometimes you do see a guy spawn at the top here and it's very annoying, but an aimed shotgun should do the trick. 51 seconds again isn't too bad. Generally speaking, I try to aim to be under 50 seconds with that room there. You can see the split times pop up at the screen. So now that I know where the lockpick location is, it's going to be much easier to lockpick. And I saved some time. Now you notice that I didn't actually drink a cloak potion. That's because drinking it wastes like half a second or a second of it having to go through the animation, and I don't want to do that because obviously every second counts in the prison run. So I just do this as fast as possible. I reckon that's about it. Yeah, there we go. It's the exact same position as we knew it before. So instead of 5 seconds of lockpicking, you only get 1 second of lockpicking, and it's always useful. I am still going to drink the poke potion for this bit though. And a Night Hunter booster. And now I'm going to, and since we know it was in the previous position before, I'm going to do it again. There we go. Charge up my Kwai dagger again, and continue going forward. I'm doing the exact same thing as before. Notice that the demolishers are always in the same spot. So there's a bit of RNG with the spawns, but the spawn locations are always the same. And of course, you see me having to reload every now and then with my shotgun. Only when I actually can afford to do that. There we go. Now in the second phase, take out this demolisher. Switch to my other shotgun so I don't have to reload. Covering as much land as possible as I'm doing this. Is that 3? Yep. So you got 3 flat there. So that's a pretty fast time. And that's how I usually do things here. I do this on a loop until I get a satisfactory time for myself, or beat my personal best. So that's generally how I do things. Thank you very much for watching.